Hallo, guten Tag. Welcome to my talk. I am Ivanna. I have been working with Flutter since about 2020, and at the moment I work as a software engineer at World of Mouth Restaurant Guide app. And during the last couple of years, I have won a couple of scholarships and several coding contests, ranging from super small community organized ones to large sponsored by companies such as Google, including the recent Global Gamers one. Do we have some Global Gamers participants? Okay, a couple of you, great. So maybe any winners as well? Okay, so for those who didn't participate or didn't know about it, in the Global Gamers Hackathon, developers had 9 weeks to develop sustainable games. And by sustainable games, we mean practically any games that would inspire good action for the environment, which could be like using less energy at home, or, for example, cutting down on use of plastics, or encouraging people to use public transportation, kind of stuff. And the grand prize included the trip to New York to spend a day with Flutter team at NYC Google office, as well as VIP tickets to the Global Citizen Music Festival. We will quickly look at some data. I promise I will not bore you for too long. First of all, it looks like a lot of folks initially intend to participate, but end up not submitting anything for the hackathon. From over 3,500 participants, we got only 344 projects in the gallery, which is less than 10%. And I think the same would be true for many contests. Naturally, people tend to switch to something else and never finish their submission. So my actual tip number 1 for you is to actually do it and submit a project. And I also analyzed the chances of getting to the top 20 or semifinals based on how large your team was. And if we look here, the data suggests that team of 2 to 4 people actually have slightly better chances of getting to top 20, and team sizes of 7 and 8 actually both got into semifinals, which is technically a 100% success rate, but we don't have enough data to conclude that you absolutely must join a team of 7 or 4 people. And in summary, going solo was the most popular, and I went solo as well, but teams of 2 have slightly better chance than everyone else. So next tip could be maybe team up with your friend or your buddy and try to do it together. My submission is called Whaley's Beans Waste Sorting. The game raises awareness about the various types of waste and their proper disposal methods. And for the character name, I just took the 2 words whale and wheelie bean, which is a different name for trash bin, and just merged them together to get this whaley. And of course, whales live in the ocean, and we want to keep our oceans clean from the trash. The gameplay involves swapping items in each row, as I call them, by dragging one item onto another and placing them into the correct bins. And you get to learn about sustainability as you play, because if you didn't pass the level, Whaley will ask you a question for a chance to unlock next level if you answer correctly. And I designed them in a way that it's easy to answer all the questions because you have hints. So the goal here is to educate in the first place. And the idea of using waste sorting was quite popular among submissions. I was definitely not the only one to use this, but each game had its own touch and style. So definitely, if you participate, do not be afraid of using same idea as someone else. On the technical side, I did use the Casual Games Toolkit. It comes with 3 pre-made templates, and one of those is called Endless Runner, which is based on the Flame engine. and that's what I used. I reused and modified elements like the settings screen and audio controllers, and rewrote the game world and mechanics. And as you can see here, the homepage and settings page kind of skeleton is pretty much the same as in the template, with some slight UI changes and some additional features, for example, in the settings. I also created new sprites or game entities and their collision logic. So my advice is to use Flutter templates and ready-made components as much as you can, because that allows you to really save some time. And some might think, okay, I want to participate in the next hackathon, but I don't have any ideas on what to build. Well, my personal advice here is that you can actually use approach for startup idea creation for any hackathons. There's plenty of resources online, and you can just take them and apply the same logic that goes for startups to your hackathon submissions, and we will see some examples. So, for example, you could focus on what you personally are really good at. This could be a technical thing like some framework or a tool that you are really familiar with, or this could be your business area that you know really well, and you can develop your idea from there. You could think of products or services that you wish existed, or the other way around, some frustrations that you have in your daily life, and you could build something opposite to avoid those frustrations. You can find companies that already succeeded and create some competition for those. There's a reason why Uber, Bolt, and Lyft all exist at the same time. Don't be afraid. And you can ask people with specific expertise for some problems that they have in their area of work. For example, if your friend is a doctor, you could ask them what problem they are working on. And for example, you could build some AI or machine learning solution to that problem. Next is you can identify industries that seem ripe for disruption. And if we go back to sustainable theme, fashion is one industry that is known for its issues with sustainability. So you could build, for example, some game that uses the theme of sustainable and ethical production practices. There's also this really cool page that I found on Y Combinator website that is called Requests for Startups. It's kind of like requests for papers, but basically they post interesting ideas ready for development, and not only that, but actually worth investing in. So you can grab any idea from the list and start working on it. And not only your submission would address valid issue, but potentially your app could maybe become the next unicorn, why not? And many of the ideas listed there can be built in form of an app or a website, so are completely suitable. And actually many of those involve AI. And speaking of AI, in many contests, like the Google Gemini competition that is going on until August 12th right now, there are not just one, but several categories in which you could win. And there are often special prizes or sponsor prizes for implementing specific technologies to your app. So you could be strategic here, and you could think about the desired category up front. You could focus on the main prize, or you could put more effort into a specific category, or maybe you could submit for as many categories as possible. Here's the example from the Gemini competition. Consider how competitive each category might be. If one category is likely to attract a lot of entries, you might have a better chance of standing out in a less crowded category. In Global Gamers, one of the sponsors was Google Wallet, and I did include a wallet integration in my game. I used Google Wallet for collectible achievements feature. And even though my submission didn't win the Google Wallet prize, I still love how including this made me go and learn something new, which is a great side effect of participating in contests and hackathons always. And the wallet is fully supported on Android. I just used web as a fallback for all other platforms. And Flutter is amazing for building multi-platform, of course, but picking a specific platform can also be your strategic decision. Web deployment removes barriers for users and for judges because they can simply click a link and start playing your game or interacting with your app. There is no hassle of going to the app stores or downloading some untrusted APK file that you shared with them. So this really helps. Also note how not all judges may have access to every type of possible device. So including demos of how your app works in your video is super helpful as well, because judges can see your game or app in action regardless of what devices they have access to physically. Another tip is to ensure that your app provides consistent experience across all platforms. In my game, I used Fire-based services like Crashlytics and Analytics, and these were not officially supported on Windows. So my job was to make sure that there are no crashes or unexpected behaviors in that case. And before you decide to add fancy features like analytics, you want to take care of the first things first. Remember how less than 10% actually submitted a project in Global Gamers? One approach that could help you to avoid this kind of situation is to focus on MVP, or minimum viable product, first. Think about what's absolutely essential functionality in your app versus what can be added last minute or, in worst case scenario, maybe even skipped. If you start with just one first page and develop that fully polished and perfect, you have a risk that you will not have enough time to work on other essential features. A better approach would be to build project skeleton, stable version of main feature, that is the essence of your app, and then add improvements on each iteration. And my next tip is to focus on UX and usability testing. Having a UX designer on your team would be super nice, but if you don't have one, still do not skip it. And to illustrate the difference on the UI and UX, you can remember the banana versus pineapple example, because a pineapple has a great UI, meaning it looks really nice, it has this vibrant color and appealing shape. However, it suffers from bad UX. It has a tough exterior, and if you grab a pineapple as your Fluttercon snack, then you will find it hard to peel without extra tools. On the other hand, a banana, not only good UI, but actually also great UX. It's easy to use, it's simple to peel, there is no mess, which makes it convenient to eat. Unless it's squished in your backpack, which happened to me a day ago. But yeah, enough with fruits, let's get to the apps. If you were to apply only one UX principle to your app, make it usability testing. Have someone use your app and take notes on where user encounters difficulties. When I was working on my game, I thought, if the game is too easy, users will soon get bored and just abandon it. So I came up with the idea of not only increasing the speed and item count on each level, but also activating this high-speed lane from time to time to make the game really challenging, and now no one will be bored. But after getting into the semifinals, we got mentorship with the feedback. And when mentors tested the game, guess what was the first comment? The game is really hard. So I was really biased here. And I considered this feedback, and to improve the user experience, based on this, I intentionally made first 5 levels of my game easier to walk through. Other not to be missed UX things for me include designing with familiar icons and navigation, so users are not lost when they navigate your app. Do not invent your own thing. Use something that user can understand. You can design for various screen sizes and orientations. if that's applicable for your app. It not always is. Make the app accessible to users with disabilities, because it's 2024. And if you're working on a game, you can actually include a special mode that would allow judges to quickly walk through all the levels of your game and see what you have built without needing to play for many hours. This is a so-called God mode, and it's super helpful for judges. Now, let's remember the time when you joined a new team and you went through code onboarding stage. How long does it normally take to onboard one engineer? Several weeks to several months, depending on project scale, right? Well, based on my research, judges can have as less as 10 to 30 minutes to review one project. Imagine this, someone looking at your code for 10 minutes and needing to decide whether or not it's good. So our job as participants, of course, is to make the code review process more convenient in this case. And how can we help someone understand what is going on in our code in such a short time? Well, at a minimum, we can make the code more readable and use some best practices. Great naming, use comments, break down to modules and functions, use readable formatting, and avoid spaghetti. Another tip is to make sure your game or app submission includes clear instructions on how it works. You might be biased by fully understanding how your app works because you are the author and you know every corner of it. It's perfectly understandable for you, but it's not as intuitive for someone external. And I already had a how to play page in Whaley's Beans settings, really hidden. But after the mentorship and getting feedback from users, I also added an in-app user onboarding feature to improve UX. Last but not least, mind your licenses. You don't want your project to get eliminated because you used an image from Google search without making sure that you're allowed to share it. Here's an excerpt from Global Gamers contest rules. Neither the demo video nor the submission itself can contain any illegal intellectual property. Creative Commons CC0, also known as No Rights Reserved, is your best friend for things like icons, images, and audio. And some popular resources that are often used are also FreePik Flaticon. Make sure to attribute them both in the App Store and inside your app credits. DALL-E lets you do pretty much everything you want with the images. Midjourney is very similar, but make sure your business is not growing more than $1 million a year, because that's when you need to purchase a separate license for that. And Font Awesome is super popular as well, and it's fully open source friendly, and you can use it in commercial projects as well, according to the terms on their website. And don't forget that you can also create your own assets. You can draw, take photos, make music, or even simply record audio on your phone. In my case, the official international voiceover for Whaley is this cute 2-year-old girl. To wrap up, here are the key tips that can help you succeed in hackathons. You can find everything I talk about today, including this summary under the QR code right here. It has a Medium article link, and you can also leave a feedback about this talk. I will appreciate it. And if you need great restaurant recommendations in Berlin or other popular destinations, check out the World of Mouse app. And thank you.